Darwin's Journey. Grab your tweed jackets, sideburns, and pipes, everybody, because it's 1831, and you and up to 3 friends are ready to set sail on the HMS Beagle. Your destination, the Galapagos Islands. Your mission, to observe and catalog as many natural specimens as you can possibly squeeze under your magnifying glass. Collect samples of these specimens and ship them home to England, where they will be put on display in the museum owned and operated by the extremely Victorian Zoological Society of London. What's that? You don't have a degree in the sciences? Oh, you haven't worked with tropical specimens before? You have never even seen South America? Come on, it's the 19th century! Work experiences for poor people! And little things like that didn't stop Charles Darwin. A game of Darwin's Journey unfolds over 5 rounds, with each round representing roughly a year of Darwin's famous expedition to the Galapagos Islands in the 1830s. In each round, you and your colleagues will take turns exploring the islands to collect samples of various specimens and other treasures, delivering said samples to the Zoological Society of London's museum, drafting and completing objectives, writing letters to your fellow naturalists back in London, and piloting your own vessels to keep up with the Beagle. Well, at least, you'll be doing all of these things in theory. Like true academics, you'll actually just be taking credit for the work of unpaid grad students desperate to bulk up their CVs. Deploying all of your grad students will signal the end of a round, at which point you'll be ready to adjust the turn order, swap out objective tiles, and receive rewards from the people you've pestered with letters, provided you've prodded them more than anyone else. The HMS Beagle will also provide you with a slew of points if you've managed to keep pace with it. Complete that process 5 times, and the game is over, the voyage is done. And then, in a shocking twist, the player with the most points is crowned the winner. Or should I say, the Darwinner. The headlining attraction in Darwin's Journey is its hotly competitive, contentious take on worker placement that features a unique worker advancement system. Rather than your workers spending the game as static tokens that can be placed anywhere on the board at any time, each of them will be an individual with a personalized skill set suited to certain tasks that will develop or evolve over the course of the game. Well, that sounds like a lot of brain power and fiddly fuss, you might say, and surprisingly, it's not. Each worker's progress is tracked through the use of these tiny tokens that look like wax seals. The vast majority of worker placements on the board have seal requirements, meaning that they're only accessible to workers who have enough seals of a particular color or set of colors in their individual credential tracker on each player's personal board. At the beginning of the game, each player will draft 3 marginally qualified individuals. The game calls them crew members, whose woeful inexperience renders them unable to carry out anything more than the most basic version of each action. During the game, players can send these novices to the Academy, where they'll deepen and expand their skill sets, adding more seals to their profiles. Bulking up their credentials allows them to access powerful versions of in-game actions, and if you load them up with enough knowledge, they'll even become distinguished scholars in their own right, who receive special bonuses every time they're placed on the board. To make this even cooler, each crew member has their own educational goals. Help them fulfill those goals, and they will trigger a potent bonus. This is an excellent system. I love it. In most worker placement games, your pawns fade into the logistical woodwork. Here they are vibrant individuals with their own knowledge and history. This allows you to build relationships with them. In every game, I inevitably choose 1, maybe 2 of my students to lavish my attention on, mostly because I'm interested in their bonus action. I shower them with seals throughout the game while their peers look on enviously, and I feel like a professor doting on his favorite students, and that is fun. But also, there's something immensely gratifying about sending your perfect pupil out into the world to execute a task and watching them be showered with accolades as they do so. Best of all, this system inspires this kind of storytelling without diluting the game's rule set with keywords and text-based modifiers. It's an excellent thematic touch that doubles as a strategic wrinkle and sets this game apart as a step forward in the worker placement genre. Earlier in this review, I said that the worker placement in this game is competitive and contentious, and let's just say that natural selection is alive and well in Darwin's journey. The board is divided into several open books full of worker placement locations, which appear as magnifying glasses and these little lenses. Every time you place a worker in a book, or on a page if you're playing with 4 people, that already has another worker on it, you have to pay a penalty to the bank. The penalty is harsh enough that it quickly takes a toll on your budget, so bidding for turn order, which you can do by placing a figure here, is extremely important. Where you fall in the turn order can have crushing downstream effects, as it can determine whether you receive needed funds from patrons back home, or whether you're able to deliver your collected specimen samples to the museum ahead of your competitors. At the beginning of the game, this board will feel capacious enough to accommodate everyone's interests, but it will quickly feel cramped and claustrophobic as players begin to jostle one another on their way to drop packets of letters off at the post office or scoop up snails on the Galapagos. Darwin's journey sparks the fire of competition by bringing about this sense of immediate proximity to your opponents, like you're all crammed together into the same bench on a bus. And it spews gasoline onto that fire by enrolling players in several competitions at once. You want to write letters? Well, great! That's actually a race to see who can put the most postage stamps on the letter that you want a bonus for before the end of the round. You want to explore the islands? Okay, well that's actually a race too, to see who can get furthest down the trail to get the most points at the end, and also gather the most samples for specimens, by the way. You want to donate one of those really cool specimens you caught on the island to the museum? Awesome! Well, turns out the only person who gets money, power, and prestige from donating specimens to the museum is the first person to do that. And you don't want to fall behind the beagle, by the way, because you're racing the beagle too, or you lose out on points. And you want to complete your gold and silver objectives before other players do, so you can get those super cool powers printed on your player board before they do. You'll want to inject your workers with more knowledge so they can access better actions on the board before everybody else. It's always do it now. Get more. Be first. Because if you're not doing that, then your field is moving on without you. You're not breaking new ground. Your work is obsolete the second you complete it. You are yesterday's oatmeal if you don't get there first. It's insanity. Darwin sanity. And it's just fun. I did not do a very good job of making that sound fun, but it is. In the game, you constantly feel like you're waging a war on 4 fronts, and that's exhilarating. A lot of games of this ilk insulate players from one another. Darwin's journey takes all insulation and rips it away. You will feel the reverberations of your opponent's decisions on every turn you take. Being entangled in your opponent's careers means that you will be constantly trying to outflank one another, which can be as amusing as it is cutthroat. As entertaining as it can be, this game is unflinchingly stodgy. All of the sentimentality in it is right here on the cover, with this hoary-headed old man surrounded by a lizard and nature. You lift this box lid and you've got a dissertation. There is no nostalgic flourish as far as the eye can see. It is all functional. And this game has little to no patience for the mathematically challenged, which is actually ironic given that Darwin himself was terrible at math. Nothing corroborates this observation more than the hilariously named theory of evolution track, which looks like the ungodly offspring of a multiplication table and a crossword puzzle. Every time you add a new species to the museum display and complete various kinds of actions, you'll advance up this track. At the end of the game, you'll score some points for it. To calculate the amount of points you'll score, you will, I kid you not, you will count the number of rows on the museum display that have been completely filled out. You'll add 2 to that number. You'll then multiply the sum of those numbers by the number indicated by your cube's position on the theory of evolution track. So if your cube made it all the way to 6, and there are 3 completed rows on the museum display, then you would go 3 plus 2, which is 5, times 6, which is 30 points, which is laughable. Fortunately, there are no other formulas in the game with that amount of steps, but this conveys to you just how high this game's expectations are for the people who want to make serious strategic decisions. I am definitely not one of those people. In fact, I personally am not sure that I am smart enough to fully appreciate this game, but I like it. It's not without its flaws. It's got some iconography that's difficult to see, and this board has a serious clutter problem. I'm not charting very high scores at the end of the game, but it gives me plenty to laugh about as I play it. But should you buy it? Let's talk. If you consider yourself a Euro game enthusiast, you should pick this up. The worker advancement mechanic is really cool and you should try it. If you're a fan of Charles Darwin, go pick yourself up a copy. This is some premium Darwin content. If you are playing Everdell or Rages of the North Sea or Champions of Midgard and you're having a great time with that, you want to cut your teeth on something a little more complex, Darwin's Journey is an excellent choice for you. Categorically recommend it. If you're looking for something that will knock your grandma's socks off this Christmas and your grandma's not exactly a fan of things like, Wayfarers of the South Tigris or Paladins of the West Kingdom or, things like that, this might be a pass. You might want to look into something like The Crew, Quest for Planet 9, or something else. If you are a Darwin hater, this is a pass. Darwin's Journey is a compelling design that feels thoroughly modern. And if you're wanting to spice up your board game diet with a little bit of old-fashioned scholastic stew, you won't want to miss this one. Thank you so much for checking out our review of Darwin's Journey. Shout out to Thundergryph Games for putting out such a great piece of work. We hope you enjoyed the little Darwin facts we seeded throughout this review. If you have any surprising facts about Charles Darwin that we did not mention, throw them in the comments section. Also, we're not quite sure, but from what we hear, every time somebody subscribes to our channel, somewhere out there in the Galapagos Islands, a giant tortoise finds a heap of lettuce to eat. Feed a giant tortoise today and hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next one.